Hello, 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 hello. How we feeling? How we doing? Happy Monday morning. John Lynch was at the annual owners meeting, and he gave us a little bit of updates on a few players. We're going to talk about that. How's everybody doing? We got a draft in a less than a month, so getting ready for it. I'm excited. I'm sure everybody else is excited because that's the offseason of the 49ers. They didn't really do a lot in terms of splashy free agent signings because most of their signings were special teams guys. So, in the sense, the offseason really is going to be the meat and potatoes, is going to be this draft, right? But let's get into the two major updates of the morning. First and foremost, let's get to Brandon Aiyuk, shall we? We're going to talk about that first. So, how's everybody doing? My man Throwback says, good morning, faithful. Please hit that button and subscribe. Hit that like button. Hey, Raj, Debtopia. Steven says, good morning. Deb says, I'm so tired of all the smoke. Instead of smoke season, can we get news season? Yeah, off season, people make up a lot of news, or there's a lot of hypotheticals, or what if this, what if this, what if this? It's not like concrete news. So today, John Lynch gave us some concrete news. So let's get into that. Basically, today, John Lynch said that Brandon Aiyuk is going to remain on the 49ers this season. There was a lot of rumors, a lot of different things said over the last couple of weeks that they're going to trade him, they're going to do this, there's going to do this. And then over the last few days, the sense is they're not going to trade him because the contract, right? Tomorrow it becomes fully guaranteed. And, there's nobody that's really going to give him a value. So John Lynch did say he expects wide receiver Brandon Aiyuk to be a part of the team this year. He says he thought there was a spillover from last year where teams wanted to acquire Aiyuk. He says there's no regret about the extension and that we love Brandon Aiyuk as a football player. We did when we drafted him, and we're excited to move forward with him. So he gave him the vote of confidence. The big thing, this is from Nick Wagner on Twitter, the big key here is he added that there's no regret about the contract extension because there's been a lot of reports, a lot of talk that the 49ers regret this contract. And part of me still believes, yes, there is a little bit of irritation, but at this point, you can't look back. Hindsight's 2020, right? I think at this point they've accepted it. That contract sucks, but according to John Lynch, they do not regret that contract. But some other news on Brandon Aiyuk, according to John Lynch and the reports that were stated today, his ACL is tracking well. He did have his checkup with his doctor a few weeks ago. Let me pull up the actual tweet here. I think Matt Burrows tweeted this. And this is something that Adam Schefter said the other day, but, they reiterated it today. John Lynch reiterated today. So John Lynch expects Brandon Aiyuk to remain a 49er this year. He also said that Aiyuk's ACL did very well in his recent checkup appointment with Dr. Elatrache. So he had his appointment, and apparently it's doing well. Whatever that means, according to the doctor, it's doing well. So he's probably meeting his checkpoints. It's at the limit it needs to be at right now post-surgery. Range of motion is probably good. Strength is probably good. There's no signs of infection. That's kind of what it means to me post-op, visit. Looks like everything is going in the right direction. Being a physical therapist, that's what you look for. The signs of, healing. You want to make sure the inflammation's down. You want to make sure that it looks like he's having good range of motion. His strength is good. He's functioning well. There's no setbacks. There's no pain when he's moving and stuff like that. So according to the reports, Brandon Aiyuk is tracking well with his recovery from ACL, MCL surgery. He also tore the meniscus. So there's a lot of, damage in that knee. And from what we heard the other day, according to Adam Schefter, which is pretty much expected, but a lot of people were saying, oh, he could be back week one because Stephon Diggs is coming back week one, but he only had the ACL compared to what Brandon Aiyuk had. Long story short, Adam Schefter said it's going to be a mid-season return, but that's pretty much was what I expected, is what we expected. And then, I don't know, over the last couple of weeks, different people say different things because it is the off season. It is smoke season. So to be right where we need to be, Brandon Aiyuk should be back mid-season if everything goes well. Right now, everything is going well. He's healing well. And Brandon Aiyuk is expected to be on the 49ers in the 2025 season. After that, I couldn't tell you, ladies and gentlemen. But this year, Brandon Aiyuk will be on the 49ers roster, according to John Lynch, unless a miracle happens. And I don't see any miracles happening at the moment. So let's take a look at some of the comments. See, Christine says, no team is going to invest in BA. He'll be lucky if he plays one game this season. ACL and MCL injuries, no joke. I feel like that's a pretty good take. I don't know if teams are going to invest in him because of that injury, and he has a lot of money due to him. I think that's the sense around the Niners with John Lynch and everything. Is like, man, I don't know if we're going to get anything. If we could get something, we would trade him, but I don't think they're going to get something, So, and you're right. That ACL and MCL combo, it's no joke. And meniscus. It's a tough injury. I mean, meniscus can heal up, but I mean, that combined with the ACL, it's just a lot of damage in the knee. It's not only a physical injury to recover from, but these guys are strong. The advancements in health are amazing, but mentally is the big hurdle in recovering from that injury. And I don't know if Brandon Aiyuk was in a good place mentally last year going into the season, because the contract extension, that's one thing people always forget with injuries is how is the mindset of a player. He might be frustrated. I don't know. He might have been frustrated last year, got the injury. He might be down in the dumps this year. Who knows? Maybe he's doing great. I don't know. But he is doing retail therapy. We knew a lot. He's buying a lot of stuff. He's posted on his YouTube. He's bought a armored truck, a Jeep Grand Cherokee, a lot of stuff. So maybe he's coping with everything by buying stuff. Hey, sometimes when I'm down in the dumps, I go retail therapy, pick me up. Oh, I need this. I need to buy this. I feel better now because I have material things. Sometimes that's how people cope with things. So Reject says, what's good? What's good? 49 Problems says, I still think BA will get traded at the 11th hour. I mean, anything's possible. You never know. I never thought that DeForest Buckner would get traded, and he did. So you never know. But I think this one is pretty much signed, sealed, delivered. They're not going to trade him unless, again, if some miracle happens at the 11th hour. I don't see it happening, though. But, hey, you never know. Never know. Reject says, BA better be healthy and play like he never played before. BA better get healthy and play like he never played before. Yeah, I think everybody is expecting Brandon Aiyuk to come back and just put your money where your mouth is. Quiet, don't talk. Let your game do the, talking for you. And at this point, yeah, he has to get healthy. I hope he does. I mean, at this point, you didn't replace him yet with the wide receiver. Juwan Jennings is going to be good, but, he's going to get a lot more double teams this year. He did good last year in that situation. But teams now are more privy on Juwan Jennings. You got Ricky Pearsall, the second-year player. You expect him to take a leap, but who knows? Brandon Aiyuk, when he comes back, you better be healthy. You better go out there and ball out. So no excuses. I agree. Pro athlete, you're getting paid $30 million a year. Go out there and do what you got to do, man. So I agree. He has to come correct. Nia says, good morning. Good morning. I hope everybody's doing well. Throwback says, what about Juwan Jennings? I've heard some stuff on Twitter. Some of these accounts post this, that, and the other, that they're looking to extend Juwan Jennings. I mean, I haven't seen a sourced reporter say anything like that, but if Juwan Jennings is looking to get an extension, I definitely would extend that, man. That guy's amazing. He deserves a lot of money. I mean, he played better. He outplayed the more higher paid wide receivers on the roster last year, right? He outplayed Debo. He outplayed Brandon Aiyuk by a long shot. He had a career season last year. Definitely deserves to be awarded. He does a lot of, minor things that go unnoticed, the blocking and things like that. He's a scrappy player. He did sign a 2-year extension last year, so he's in another contract year this year. So, I mean, he's money motivated. I feel like the 49ers definitely could, extend him this year, and it would be well deserved. But, he did have an extension last year. Again, the rumor is he's, in the market to get extended by the 49ers again. So we'll see how that materializes. Again, it's just a rumor right now, but sometimes rumors turn into good news. Sometimes rumors are just that. They're rumors. So we'll see. But I love Juwan Jennings. He's a dog. He's going to be your leading wide receiver right now unless they go and get like some star out there, which I don't think so, because they're not going to spend the money on big time wide receiver when they have holes at offensive line, they have holes at defensive line, and they got to get Brock Purdy paid, which we'll talk about shortly. Let's see. Wouldn't the ACL and MCL heal at the same time? They would, but he also had the surgery on the ACL specifically. So it's an ACL recovery combined with the MCL recovery, which, the MCL and the ACL are going to heal correctly together. But he had to go and repair the ACL, separately because it was so torn up, so damaged that they go in there, they repair it. But yeah, the MCL is going to heal at the same capacity as ACL. But there's just so much structural damage that it's not as simple as, oh yeah, okay, you tore the ACL, the MCL, or just tore an ACL. It is a little different structurally. And again, they had to wait a little bit longer for all the swelling to come down to do the surgery because there was so much structural damage in there. It wasn't just like he was able to get the surgery right away. He had to wait. There's a lot of swelling, and it takes a little bit longer, And then stability of the knee is a little different with the ACL joint compared to the MCL. There's different points of stability there. So rehab's a little different for both of those injuries. So he has to combine them together, and then meniscus as well. Expect a mid-season trade if BA had a good start of the season. Yeah, I mean, there's going to be times. I still think at some point down the line, BA gets traded from this team because they said this season. John Lynch said this season he'll be there. He didn't say anything about 2026, 2027. So I feel like this is Brandon Aiyuk. He has to prove himself and show that he can still be a legit player for the 49ers, or they move him. Now, the unfortunate thing is this contract does make it a little bit more challenging for him to get moved from the 49ers. In a situation like Dre Greenlaw, he was a free agent coming into the season. So they knew, okay, you could come in, prove yourself, show us, get some film out there. And if we can't bring you back, we'll you're going to hit the free agent market and we won't bring you back. But let's talk about Dre Greenlaw for a second, because before we get to Brock Purdy, we got to talk about Dre. I wasn't live yesterday, but we posted the news. I was on Instagram yesterday. We talked about this. Man, the 49ers, John Lynch and Kyle Shanahan flew down to Dre Greenlaw's house in Texas, and they tried to do a last-ditch effort to convince him to come back to the 49ers. They outbid the Broncos at the last minute. Why don't you just pay the man all that money to begin with? I feel like that would have made a difference. But in the grand scheme of things, Greenlaw did want a fresh start, and he did want to become the leader of a defense. He didn't want to be in the shadow of Fred Warner. So I respect that. A lot of people were hating on Greenlaw yesterday. I mean, I respect it. Greenlaw wanted to go and be a linebacker one. If you read the article from the Denver Post, basically he, instead of being the Scottie Pippen, he wanted to be MJ on a defense. He wanted to be the top dog. And it makes sense. You want to be your own guy. You don't want to be living in somebody else's shadow. Fred Warner called him apparently also and said, hey, man, we want you back, but I'm not going to force you to do it. I'm not going to sit there and throw you a fever pitch. I'm going to tell you I love you as a brother and I want you back. But if you got to go, you got to do your thing. So respect from Fred Warner. Said, hey, look, I'm not going to force you to it, but we do want you back. John Lynch, Kyle, they went down to his home, said, please come back. We'll offer you more. But I think at that point, Greenlaw was already 2 feet out the door. And he says, look, man, I'm getting the money I deserve that you should have paid me in the beginning. And I'm getting to be the guy on my own defense. And I think that's good for him. It's his next chapter. And I hope Dre Greenlaw succeeds and he goes out and balls out, man. That's it. Prove himself. Go out there and tear it up. Now, speaking of Dre Greenlaw, interesting enough, today Matt Barrows reported that the 49ers and Broncos are set to they're working on it. It's not official. They're working on having joint practices this summer, which would be fantastic because then it'd be like when the Raiders and Niners did a little joint practice. Jimmy G, a little reunion with the squad. The Colts. I think we're supposed to, but they never did. It would have been cool to see Defoe again, but this year we'll see. You might have Talanoa Hufanga, Dre Greenlaw get to say what's up to the boys, to the Niners, to the whole squad. DJ Jones, So it'll be fun. I feel like the Broncos-Niners joint practice is something that probably will happen. They're working on it, and we'll see when it officially gets announced down the line. But it would definitely be pretty cool to see Dre Greenlaw, Fred Warner, on opposite sides come together, have a little moment, and it'd be fun. CMC versus Dre Greenlaw, all that fun stuff. A little final goodbye for the boys before the season starts. So that is something that's developing at the moment, and we'll see how that goes. So did anyone ask about the D-line, DeMarcus says? I didn't see anything on that yet. Nobody asked about the defense. TBNR says this injury for BA was a wake-up call. He'll be back ready to ball out. I definitely think this was a wake-up call for Brandon Aiyuk, man. He needs to get everything checked out, get his priorities head straight. Definitely was a wake-up call. So let's talk a little bit about, let's take a look. I'm going to go through the tweets of what they did talk about before we get to Brock Purdy. So John Lynch expects Brandon Aiyuk to be back. John Lynch said, we've been a top 5 spending team. Our ownership has been tremendous. They've given us every resource that we need, and that's not stopping. We're going to continue to be aggressive. At the end of this offseason, I would surmise that we're going to be a top 5 spending team again. So just because they haven't spent money yet doesn't mean they won't be spending by the end of the offseason. So what he's saying is, still got some shit to do, man. We still got to sign Brock Purdy, George Kittle extension. Maybe some other players get added here and there, the rookies. And again, they still have other contracts that are on the roster that are pretty high. Nick Bosa, Fred Warner are big contracts, right? So they've paid a lot of players, and they don't expect that to be done. Now, if you also think about this, Juwan Jennings, maybe he does get his extension like we just spoke about, because John Lynch says at the end of this offseason, we're going to be a top 5 spending team again. So right now, it doesn't seem like they're doing a lot, spending a lot. By the end of this offseason, you're going to be like, oh, they did a lot this offseason. That's what John Lynch is trying to tell us. And he's trying to also say, hey, look, we got players we got to prioritize. Brock Purdy's probably the big one. Another quote from John Lynch, he says, we were 6-11. No matter how we got there, that's embarrassing. I like that he owned up to that. I don't ever want to be 6-11 again. The draft is an important part of fixing that. Woo, spicy John. He says, look, we were 6-11. 6-11. 6-11. I don't ever want to be 6-11 again. Sheesh. Wow. He doesn't ever want to be 6-11 again, guys. He does not want to be 6-11 again. That's a spicy quote, man. It's a spicy quote. I like it. And then he talked about the long snapper. They asked him, this is the question that the media asked about. They didn't ask about the defense. They said that new 49ers long snapper John Weeks is the player new special teams coordinator Brant Boyer wanted for the position. He wanted this guy. He's been targeting this guy. This is a guy he's wanted from the jump. John Weeks is a very well-respected long snapper in the NFL. Played 15 years for the Texans. Like, he was the Texans organization. Like, he got a thank you. He got multiple posts on their social media that he said a thank you. They wrote that man a long, like, heartfelt message. John Weeks is a guy that Brant Boyer wanted on this team. And according to this, Dave Lombardi says he joked that the 49ers have teased Boyer about wanting a 39-year-old player when they're trying to get younger. Obviously, age not really relevant at that position, but it's funny irony. Yeah, it is funny that you go and sign a 39-year-old long snapper when you told us all offseason you're trying to get younger. But he's the man at that position. So it is what it is. Couple things here that we should talk about. Let's talk about Brandon Aiyuk. We talked about Brandon Aiyuk. Let's talk about Brock Purdy, shall we? Brock Purdy. John Lynch says that he would like to get a deal for Brock Purdy's contract extension done before the offseason program. The offseason program starts in a few weeks. That's like right before OTAs and all that stuff. They start the offseason program. Players report a little bit and they get going, and that's in a couple of weeks. It's usually in the mid-April. So Brock Purdy could be getting a deal in the next couple of weeks. Now, John Lynch did say this, and the quote was kind of taken out of context along other people, but you got to understand the quote, what it says. So here's what John Lynch said. He says, it's not too optimistic to think a deal with Purdy could be done by the start of the offseason program in a couple of weeks. It's not too optimistic to think. So it's basically saying he's saying it's not crazy to think that a deal could get done in the next couple of weeks. Now, when you first read that, you're like, oh, it's not optimistic that we're going to get it done. No, it's not too optimistic to think that the 49ers could actually get a deal. Like, hey, man, we might actually be able to get this deal done in the next couple of weeks. This is also what John Lynch said. He says, Brock wants to be with us. We want Brock to be with us. When that's the case, these things get done. Hopefully, it happens really soon this offseason. I think we're going to get a deal done. So that's what he's saying. He's very optimistic. Not very optimistic. He is somewhat optimistic that they could get it done sooner rather than later. I don't think this is going to, it's not going to drag out. I feel like they're going to get this done in the next couple of weeks before the draft is what he's trying to say. He's saying, look, we are trying our damn best to get this deal with Brock Purdy done before the draft. That's what he's saying. I think that's the way I took it. At first, I was like, is he saying? And then you read it again, you're like, okay, that's what he's saying. So they want to get this deal done sooner rather than later. They don't want to sit there and drag it out. I think they've learned their lesson. And again, just what John Lynch said is this team will be a top 5 spending team. You pay a quarterback in the 50 million range, your spending money goes up. So I think if you put the tea leaves together, if you connect 1 and 1, 2 and 2, John Lynch is saying, hey, look, we're going to be spending money. That money is going to be allocated towards our quarterback, who's going to get paid a lot of money. And I think it's going to get done fairly soon. We hope it gets done fairly soon. If it doesn't, we'll still be working towards it. But the goal is to get it done fairly soon. And I think that's kind of been the talk all offseason. Brock Purdy's wanted to get a deal done soon. John Lynch and the team has said they wanted to get a deal done soon. I really don't think they're going to drag this out too much. So let's take a look at some more of these comments now. Christine says Dre wanted to be a man of his own, be his own man. And I think that 100% is ultimately what led to his decision to stay with the Broncos instead of taking the money with the Niners. I still love Dre and wish him the best. Me too. Carl says, do you think Brock gets paid more than $50 million? I do think he could get paid more than $50 million. I think $55 million is the ceiling of the deal, and I think he'll get paid close to $55 million, maybe a little less, but I do think he'll get paid more than $50 million a year. Brock deserves market value. Get it done, says Karen. I mean, we've been talking about Brock Purdy for weeks, for months. Everybody's going to tell you 30 to 40 to 50. There's going to be people that agree with any value. There's going to be someone that can argue he's worth that much. But I think ultimately he'll get done a contract between 50 to 55. And I think that's fair market value at this point. Get it done. That's game-changing money for Brock Purdy and his family. That's generational money. That man will never have to work too much after he's done with the NFL. You know, his family is going to be set up for like $55 million a year for 3 years. That's crazy, even with the taxes. Julia says, all love for Greenlaw, but Winters is a captain for a team that went to a national championship. He's next up. I do love D Winters, man. I'm a big D Winters stan, but guys got to stay healthy. That's the big issue with D Winters. Can you stay on the field? You're good when you're on the field, but can you stay on that field? Big question. Julia says, just pay Purdy what he has earned. He has taken a pay cut for 4 years. Well, not necessarily a pay cut. He was last pick in the draft, and that's, chump change compared to what other quarterbacks are getting paid or other players in the league are getting paid. But, I'm sure you guys watched his interview with the Built for More podcast. It was really good, and he talked a lot about, where he was in terms of, how he got to this point in his career and just faced a lot of adversity. And he said, even in high school, he didn't get the recruitments. It was a last minute recruitment. There's like film of him out there. This is one of the stories he said, and he looked a lot skinnier than he normally was because he got mono. Brock Purdy got mono. Bro has got that kissing disease. Bro got mono. And then he says he got really sick. He lost a lot of weight. He looked sickly on film when he was playing and stuff. He was a little sick. And then it hurt his recruitment. He went and got recruited. He played, and he was always doubted still, even though he did well in, Iowa and everything. And regardless of that, he still was drafted, but last pick. And then he had to go through that and prove himself there, made the team. And then injuries happened, and then boom, here he comes. And now he's a starter. So he's battled a lot of adversity. But, being the last pick in the draft, you're definitely not going to get paid compared to what other guys are getting paid. But yeah, he's sat there and played on a small contract compared to whatever other players on his team are getting paid. And he's done well. He's proved himself now. I think he can, he deserves to get paid for all the work he's put in over the last couple of years, whether you like Purdy or not, whether you think he's going to be a Super Bowl winning quarterback or not. I mean, this is the guy that the 49ers are tying themselves to. This is their franchise quarterback. I think he deserves to get paid what he, will ultimately get paid, which we've talked about, $50 to $55 million. He's put in a lot of work for this team, man, and he's come a long way. And he's a nice young man, humble guy. Do I think he's an elite quarterback? I mean, I'm not going to tell you he is. He's not an elite quarterback, but he's good for the 49ers. The team loves him, and he gives them stability. And at the end of the day, man, if the team loves him and that's your franchise quarterback, pay the man, get it done, and let's move on to the next topic. So let's see. MSQ says, don't flame me, but the special teams coach wanting to keep Moody will give him a lot of confidence. And don't forget how he performed in the Super Bowl. That's a good take. Let's talk about that, because Jake Moody news did come out today. They're keeping him right now. Maybe they'll get a competition with the kicker. But his former coach, Mr. Jim Harbaugh, Mr. Jimmy Harbaugh, the former 49ers coach, Jim Harbaugh, gave him a little vote of confidence. This is what Jake Moody said, Jim Harbaugh on Jake Moody today on handling adversity. He talked about how he handles adversity. He says, this is what Jim Harbaugh says. He says, he's just like a very, very steady, confident player in his ability. Yeah, that's crazy. And I've seen him miss a few and then come back and make 14, 17 straight. He says, I can't remember exactly what it was. I would think that it's going to repeat himself. So he says, like, yeah, okay, through adversity, he's going to be able to come back and be a better version of himself. So Jim Harbaugh gave him a vote of confidence. And, that's his former coach. I love that he stuck up for him. But Niner fans aren't too confident about him. But I think that's a solid take that Brant Boyer vouching for this guy is going to give him a little bit more confidence. But I don't know how confident he's going to be because he just never seemed confident at the NFL level. That's the way I've seen it. Just because he did get drafted with the high pick, 3rd round pick for a kicker is, extremely high. And I think that pressure has always weighed on his shoulders. And I think that's really messed him up. But also, Niner fans, myself included, we have ripped this man to shreds. What kind of confidence is he going to have? Because if he misses a kick, bro, don't go log into your social media. Please do not go log into TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube. You are about to get flamed on the internet. So it's a tough situation. I hate it. I want him to succeed. I want every player on the 49ers to succeed. But the confidence that he has, I don't see it. Jim Harbaugh says it. I mean, that's his guy. He's not going to rip him apart. He's not even his coach anymore. So love that people are trying to boost him up. But the other token of this is I feel like Jake Moody is always kind of coddled, man. Like people are always so nice to him, just so nice to him. I don't know, but maybe that's what he needs. Maybe he just needs someone to coddle him all the time. But I don't feel like he never had belt to ass when he was a kid. Let's put it that way. He never had BTA when he was a kid, if you know what I mean. That's it. Julia says Moody's going from the worst special team coach to the best special teams coach. It could help him. I get the sentiment that now he has a better coach. A better coach could instill a little bit more confidence in him. So I like the positivity you guys are bringing. But we got to see him put the results out there on Sundays, Mondays, and sometimes Thursdays. So we'll see how it goes with Jake Moody. But yeah, he's back in the news, and people do not like Jake Moody out there. But if he goes out there and hits 20 straight field goals, I think everybody will be happy again. So, but it's just one of those things because I feel like most people, when he comes up to kick, you're like holding your breath. I don't like that feeling. I want to like, all right, PAT's coming. Let me go wash my hands at this. Let me go to the restroom real quick, PAT. And now I'm like, I'm stressing. Oh my God, they got a touchdown. Are they going to make the PAT? Are they going to make the PAT? Oh my God, are they going to? Like, I don't want to be stressed out. I want to be able to go take a leak for a minute, when the kicker comes and, goes for the PAT, a field goal. But it's a little stressful watching Jake Moody play football. But I do like the sentiment that maybe Brant Boyer can improve a little bit of his confidence. He's a good special teams coach, and he's definitely better than Brian Schneider from what we've read and what I've seen and just, around the league. So I'm excited. I'm very optimistic about these coaches this year, man. Salah, Gus Edwards, Brant Boyer. I'm very, very excited to see what these new coaches can do for the 49ers. So trade Moody to the Chargers for Herbert, says Cosmo. Can you imagine? Imagine. Hey, Jim Harbaugh, if you like him that much, take him. Take him. Oh, you like him? Take him. Take him. Maybe the 49ers are trying to wax a deal. These 49ers media guys trying to wax a deal for Chargers. I'll take anybody from their team. Christine says he doesn't have any motivation at all. It doesn't seem like it, right? Let's see. Any other questions, concerns? That's pretty much it. John Lynch came in, dropped some news on us, told us Brandon Aiyuk don't expect him to be anywhere else except the 49ers, and he's doing well in recovery. Brock Purdy, they want to get the deal done, and it's not too crazy to think that they could get it done in the next couple of weeks before the off-season program. So, good news all around. If you ask me, it's good news. John Lynch is upset that they're 6-11 team they were a 6-11 team last year. He said it's embarrassing and they need to improve this year. I like John Lynch, man, that he's sitting there. He's, he knows this team was embarrassed last year. He knows what's going around in the media. He knows people are talking trash about him. But you got to have patience. You got to see it out. You got to trust the process. The season doesn't start today. The season starts in a couple of months. So they're executing their plan. Their plan is lengthy. It's going to take some time. It's not going to happen overnight. And I feel like, we all want to see the results now. We all want to see this team play and win games. We want to see a better roster. And I know right now people are thinking it's not because they lost a lot of players, but just got to give them some time. They'll improve their roster. Training camp will come. Everybody will be excited, and the optimism will flow. But John Lynch that's a tough job. You got to kind of calm everybody down. And this fan base, we get a little high strung, a little hyper when we lose, when things are not going our way. So John Lynch is just trying to calm us down and let us know everything's gonna be all right, guys. But Julia says this is hot take. This is the best coaching staff the Niners have had since 2019. I think you could be very well right with that. Karen says, watching the Eagles in the Super Bowl shows Niner fans how much work we have to do. They had all three phases killing it. Yeah, that's true. The Eagles team, man, as much as I hate to admit it, that team was just fantastic at every aspect of the game. Special teams was so good. Their defense, of course, their D-line was wrecking havoc. I mean, you saw the Super Bowl. They had Patrick Mahomes like on every play. He couldn't escape. He was suffocated. And then O-line, you couldn't get through. I mean, Saquon Barkley was able to do whatever he wanted. Jalen Hurts could do whatever he wanted through the playoff. Like in the playoffs, Saquon Barkley was tearing it up through the season. That O-line was incredible. And they had good weapons. You had A.J. Brown and Devonta Smith, and the team was good. You can't hate on them as much as you want to. They won the Super Bowl. So, yeah, they built a good team. And the 49ers have to get good at all phases, not just defense, not just offense, special teams as well. And last year, I mean, not just last year, but these special teams have been abysmal with Brian Schneider at the helm over the last couple of years. And they've cost the Niners several games. So I know they've put an emphasis on special teams this offseason. I'm happy about that. But now you got to go build those trenches because those trenches are looking a little thin. So Christine says, my draft crush is Wyatt Millum. Deb Topia says her draft crush is Cam Scatterbo. Oh, man, I like Cam. Who's my draft crush? I don't know if I have like really one draft crush. There's so many players I like in this draft. I like Membu from Mizzou. He's good. Will Campbell is a great offensive tackle. I know that people said he has got short arms, but he's got a big mentality. I like him. Who else? Walter Nolan. I really like him. He's a good, nasty defensive tackle. Mason Graham. He's also a beast. Those two guys are really good. Abdul Carter. He's fantastic. Jalen Walker, edge / outside linebacker. Good player. I mean, there's so much talent in this year's draft. I couldn't tell you one player that I just really, really love. I love Will Johnson too. He's a great corner. So many players this year in this year's draft. There's a lot of talent. And I think the 49ers have a really good chance to improve their roster in many, many, many ways. So we'll see. You guys have a good rest of your day. Appreciate you. Hopefully we get a little bit more news. If not, it is what it is. We got some news today, and it's better than smoke news, like Deb said earlier. It's better to have real news than all these damn rumors, man. I can't stand these rumors sometimes. It's just like, oh, God. Then people go on there and then they talk about it and then it's like, oh my God. Then the Niners are in the limelight and then it's usually bad news or it's like stupid stuff. And then everybody's making fun of the Niners. You're like, oh, come on, man. So I'm glad we got some actual news with substance rather than, malarkey news that is just fluff for the offseason. But either way, we got to post that shit and I hate it. And yes, you're right, Christine. Tomorrow is April Fool's. Please don't be a fool tomorrow. Remember, I'm giving you a huge heads up. Tomorrow is April Fool's. Do not believe anything you hear, you see. Do some proofreading. Make sure you do a double take because tomorrow people will try to bamboozle you. Do not get fooled on April Fool's. Please don't get April Fool's tomorrow. I love you guys. Have a great rest of your day. Go Niners. You're on your lunch at 9:40 a.m., bro. I haven't even had breakfast yet. You have a blessed day, Peter Parker. I love you. Go Niners. Don't fall for any April Fools tomorrow. Peace.